Welcome to Nwano Podcast. This is a family podcast where we discuss everyday family issues. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, today podcast we're gonna discuss about conflict between parents. You know, in relation to what we'll be discussing things, right? You know, we discussed about should parents stay together because of their kids. You know, why children suffer, you know, through their parents' divorce and something like that. Understand? So someone asked if it's wise, or is just asked it this way: should parents argue in front of their kids? If it's wise for parents to argue in front of their kids, something like that. So I will start with a quote from Dave Willis. The quote goes this way: one of the truest signs of maturity is that ability to disagree with someone while remaining respectful. Do you understand? So in relation to conflict, when parents argue sometimes, how do they argue? Is there respect in the argument or something like that? Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, you know?
Yeah. And when parents have conflicting ways to deal with their children's upbringing, when there's no teamwork, every parent is doing his or her own thing. Raising kids in that environment could be stressful and complicated. And sometimes couples disagree on things. And when they have different parental styles in their marriage, coming from a different home, different upbringing, different background, the way they might see how to raise their kids would be different. And they will put a strain in their relationship.
Yeah, the way they will see, because, you know, they're coming from different families, isn't it? Different upbringing, they have different how will I say, culture or something like that. So they coming from different homes, they coming together. The way they were raised in their own families, might be different. So coming now, sometimes there's disagreement in the way they will like raise their own children. Do you understand what I mean? So that's what happens sometimes. You know, it brings some conflict sometimes. I get me. When parents are not themselves, when it comes to that stage, when they are not themselves, when they try to, I don't know, they're not open. They try to be something else. You know, when they are not themselves, when they are not in agreement on the issues relating to their kids, which could lead to conflict of interest sometimes. Do you understand? Yeah. So we should not make regards to children basic needs. You know, those conflicts can lead to argument and disagreement, which might have a negative impact in their children upbringing. Do you understand? So they might disagree. They have conflict because of that. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So it might have an effect in the way they bring up their children.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? Yeah.
So does it hurt your children when they witness arguments?
Now, what I remember when in the days when we were young, you know, my parents they used to argue. They used to have issues as well. They try so much not to argue in front of us. Do you understand? They try so much not to argue in front of us. Especially my dad is one that normally say that you're like, no, we're not gonna do this in front of the kids. Do you understand? Don't start. We're not gonna do this in front of these kids. You know, you should know that the problem usually is about money. From the part of the part of country where I come from. I get what I mean? So sometimes it's about school fees. When the mother requesting for school fees, sometimes and your dad doesn't have it. My dad doesn't have the money at that time. You know, sometimes you bring that argument, you bring that conflict.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So when they start arguing and all those kind of things, what they normally tends to do is when they realize that the kids are there,
they'll just change the subject.
Yeah, they will change the subject, they change the conversation. Or sometimes they'll go inside
in a different
room, go and stay there and then start talking. Do you understand what I mean? Then they bring their voices down. There's argument. They will pretend that we don't understand what is happening, And we kids, we understand. We pretend as if we don't care what is going on between them. Do you understand what I mean? So it's part of what is happening. Parents do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the problem, because sometimes when they start arguments in front of their children, when they notice that they're there, they'll try to change the conversation, as you said. And most of the time they'll go to another room, as you said as well, believing their children can't hear them. And instead of ending the argument in front of their children, by so doing, they're depriving their children from the knowledge of resolution and problem solving.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They go inside the other room. They try not to show that they have a conflict, or they show that they have an argument. Do you understand what I mean? So they go in there, they're talking and all those kind of things. And sometimes it's good for parents to do that in front of their kids. Once they started the argument, so most times it's not that something that you can start intentionally. It might happen in front of those kids. They seeing you doing that. It's better that you resolve it. Do you understand what I mean? You resolve it, professionally. You resolve it instead of hiding or try to cover it up. You resolve it in front of the kids. In so doing, you are teaching those kids that power of resolution. You understand? And problem solving. They can learn that yes, it's good, it's normal to argue sometimes.
But it's not good to hide.
To hide
argument.
Yeah. You argue, but how did you argue? In which way do you argue? How did they resolve it at the end of the day? Do you understand? If once there is respect in that argument, instead of calling each other names and all that, I get what I mean. Yeah, being violent into it and all those kind of things. So the children, they're watching that. It gives them that healthy vibe that is natural to have misunderstanding with someone. At the end of the day, you resolve it. You don't run away from conflict. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah, that's all part of the solution there.
And the few mistakes parents make are when they're trying so hard to avoid conflicts, not knowing that the conflict is helping their marriage to grow stronger. And having an open discussion is always the key to a better and healthier relationship.
Yeah, like now, I have a family, right? I live with my wife, okay? So we trying so much. We're trying so much. In every couple, there's argument. You have some issues. You have a conflict. You can't run away from it. Do you understand what I mean? We try so hard. Sometimes it can happen that argument started while the children are there. Sometimes it happens that you're discussing, it just start in front of the children. So what we try not to do is to raise our voices at each other. Sometimes it can raise the voice. Do you understand? Unintentionally, it can come up like that. So we'll try so much not to interrupt each other when someone is talking. Because when you're interrupting each other,
you could start an argument.
You will escalate it. No one is listening. Do you understand? Allow someone to talk. When they talk, do you understand what they're coming from? Their own angle. The angle where they're coming from. What they want to. The message they want to pass on to you. But if you don't listen and you start interrupting, no one is communicating it to each other. Do you understand? That's when the voice is like keep going higher and higher and higher. Do you understand? It can escalate to something else. So we are, like I said, we try so much to listen to each other, not to interrupt each other when such things happens. You understand? It's not something that started immediately. It's something that you learn gradually. You learn it, understand, and start to put into your relationship. Because interrupting each other is not good. You said already it can lead to more disunity, division, which can, the children, they're watching that, right? They'll use that, isn't it? They use the opportunity
to manipulate.
They manipulate the parents. You understand? Because they know now there's no unity. Everyone is divided. You find out that children, they know what is happening, right? That's what some parents don't understand. Kids, they know what is happening. They're very smart. So they're listening, they're watching. They use that to penetrate and manipulate the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and what we're trying to say is that as parents, you should know your kids better, and you should think about your kids. Don't try to undermine one another in front of your kids. When one parent is trying to make a fool of the other just to score unnecessary points, it doesn't help anyone.
It doesn't help anyone at all. Another thing we try to do, we try to listen to each other. You know, we try to listen to each other so much. You said that parents, they shouldn't use the opportunity. You understand that, to undermine one another. You know, when it happens like that, you see some parents, what they normally do, they use the opportunity, try to belittle the other parent. They start calling them, telling them names that like they don't know what they're doing. You get what I'm saying? They start pointing out that what they achieved. I'm the one doing this. I'm the one doing that. I'm the one. I get what I'm saying? Instead of like working as a team, now they try to belittle the other one. You get what I'm saying? In front of the kids, and the kids they're watching. You get me? So it's not really good. Understand? So you shouldn't try to undermine one another in front of the kids. Argument is something that always come around. Brothers and sisters, they argue. Friends, they argue. In any relationship, if there's no argument, it's not genuine relationship.
It's not genuine relationship.
Do you understand what I mean? So because everyone is, what are they doing? They're pretending that things are going well. No one is trying to communicate. No one is trying to relate to each other. When you relate to each other, that's always going to be disagreement. And it has to be genuine and open disagreement. When you disagree, you have to come to agreement. Do you understand? So it's how do you resolve it? How do you, like I said, is how do you argue? Why are you arguing? How are you arguing? But once it gets to that stage whereby you become violent, that's when it's out. It becomes something else.
Out of hand.
Yeah, I understand. But argument is always there. You need to argue. But why are you arguing? How are you arguing? Are you arguing, shouting at each other, calling each other names, belittling each other, trying to make the other one look like a fool in front of the kids? You will always come back to hurt the person. Do you understand what I mean? That's when it becomes disunity, it becomes division in the family, and the kids, they are watching that. That is not good. So staying in front of the kids arguing, sometimes we already said that it helps them to learn how to do what? Problem solving, how to solve things. Do you understand? They can't run away from conflict. It's part of human nature. We argue, but it has to be healthy argument. It brings healthy into relationship. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
it's part of it. So when you argue, whether it's in front of the kids or not, you should do it healthily without any violence. Like I said, you should avoid the name calling, because you might say something that you will regret out of anger.
Yeah. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Share and subscribe to the channel, please. And don't forget,
the family is everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.